She came back to the same doorstep every night, quiet, still, waiting. Rain soaked her fur. Wind pressed against her sides, but she never moved. Her eyes fixed on the same wooden door as if expecting it to open for someone who never arrived. She was not begging. She was remembering. No collar. Shadow returning to the same place again and again. The neighbors had seen her. Some thought she was lost. Others said she was loyal. But no one stopped to ask why she waited. No one followed her. Until Renee did. Renee lived in the last house on the street. A retired school teacher with soft steps and silent evenings. She noticed the dog one Tuesday night sitting in the rain staring at her door. At first, she assumed the dog was hungry. But when she placed out food, the dog ignored it. The next night, the same thing happened. And the one after that. The dog appeared at sunset, sat exactly 4 feet from the porch, and stared at the front door. Never barking, never whining, just waiting, as if time itself had paused for her and nothing else mattered. On the 7th night, something shifted. Renee stood on her porch and whispered gently, "Who are you waiting for?" The dog did not flinch. She turned her head slowly, then looked back toward the woods behind the house. Then she walked. Not away in fear, but forward with purpose. She wanted to be followed. Renee hesitated. The air was cold. The sky was dark. But something about the dog's gaze was different. It was not wild. It was pleading. So Renee stepped off the porch and followed the silent figure into the trees. The leaves crackled under her shoes. The wind carried only the sound of breathing. They walked for 10 minutes. Past the garden, past the last streetlight, into the woods where light did not reach and the ground felt forgotten. The dog never looked back. She knew the way, as if she had walked it 100 times, with someone who once mattered, more than herself. Suddenly, the dog stopped. Her ears perked. She sniffed the ground, then crawled through a space between 2 fallen branches. Renee knelt down, heart racing. Her fingers brushed against something soft. A blanket, faded and worn, covered in dirt and leaves. Then she saw it, 2 small eyes blinking from the shadows. It was a puppy, thin, shaking, hidden beneath an old blanket that barely covered his body. Beside him lay a torn photograph, water-damaged but still visible. A young girl holding that same dog, smiling at the camera. Her name was written on the back, Malia. Renee's breath caught. She gathered the puppy in her arms and wrapped him in her coat. The dog stayed close, touching her nose to the blanket, then pressing her body beside the child. There was no aggression, only quiet love. A mother who had been guarding her child, waiting for someone to see. When Renee returned home, she turned up the heat, found a soft towel, and placed the puppy near the radiator. The dog lay on the floor, eyes never leaving the little one, as if any movement might take him away again. Renee sat beside them and whispered, "You are safe now. Both of you." The next morning, Renee searched for the name online, Malia, dog, pink blanket. After hours of scrolling, she found a report. A child named Malia had gone missing 3 months ago. After a flash flood swept through the eastern side of town, the dog was listed as missing too. The article said rescue teams searched for days. They found nothing. No signs of the girl. No signs of the dog. The case had gone cold. But Renee knew that what she held in her arms was part of that lost story. And the dog had never given up looking for help. She contacted the local authorities. They arrived within hours. Examined the photograph, the blanket, the location in the woods. Everything matched. The girl was never found, but the dog had stayed near, where they were last seen, waiting, watching, returning to the only home. She remembered. The puppy, though weak, was alive. He responded to warmth, to milk, to the sound of quiet singing. Renee named him Promise, a word she whispered each time she tucked him in at night. The dog stayed close, never once leaving the room. Renee named her Echo because her love had echoed through time. Days turned into weeks. Promise began to grow stronger. He took shaky steps across the floor. He barked for the first time. And each time he did, Echo wagged her tail. It was as if she was slowly beginning to believe that maybe this time she had saved him for real. Renee's house, once filled only with silence and dust, began to sound alive. The gentle tap of paws, the clinking of bowls, and the occasional soft bark filled the air. The neighbors who once ignored the dog now came by to leave treats, blankets, or sit on the porch and listen to the story. Children drew pictures of Echo and Promise. One even brought a small pink collar with a bell. Echo wore it proudly, as if carrying the memory of the girl she lost and the new life she had saved. Renee often said Echo was not just a dog. She was a witness, a guardian. Some nights, Renee sat on her porch with Promise curled in her lap, Echo resting at her feet. She would light a candle and place it on the porch railing, a small flicker of warmth in the dark. Not for herself, but for the little girl who never came home. She believed Echo was not lost. She was loyal. She was not just waiting. She was remembering. She was guarding a story the world had forgotten. And in that story, a quiet dog led someone into the darkness and brought back light. Not just for a puppy, but for a woman who had needed it too. There are animals who wander, and there are animals who return. Echo returned to the same door every night, not because she was lost, but because she believed someone would one day follow. And someone did ... Renee never asked for companionship. She never imagined she would find purpose again. But in the eyes of a dog who waited without words, she found something stronger than loss. She found the power of unwavering love. The story spread slowly at first. A few local reporters came. They took photos of Echo and Promise sitting beside Renee on the porch. They wrote headlines that read, "Dog waits months at doorstep until help finally comes." But none of them could fully capture the quiet power behind those eyes. People began to send letters. Some shared their own stories of animals who had waited. Others simply wrote to say thank you. Packages arrived with toys, blankets, and bags of food. One little girl mailed her favorite stuffed animal for Promise. Renee placed it beside his bed that night. But through it all, Echo remained the same, gentle, quiet, watchful. She still sat by the front door every evening, as if part of her still listened for footsteps that would never return. Renee never stopped her. She let her sit there, keeping vigil for the love she never forgot. Promise grew fast. Within weeks, he was bounding through the living room, chasing bits of ribbon and nipping gently at Echo's ears. She never growled, never pushed him away. She just watched him with the kind of love that could not be explained, only felt. The kind that survived floods and fear and silence. Renee often found herself speaking aloud in the kitchen, not out of habit, but because the house felt full again. When she watered her garden, Echo followed. When she read in her rocking chair, Promise curled at her feet. It was not just companionship. It was something deeper, a family made by fate. One afternoon, Renee received a visit from Malia's aunt. She had read the story. She stood on the porch holding the same photo Renee had found in the woods. They both looked down at Echo, then at Promise, and neither said a word. There were no words big enough for what they felt. The aunt sat down beside Echo, who gently nudged her hand. Tears filled the woman's eyes as she whispered. She was not alone, was she? Renee shook her head. She never was. In that moment, the grief that had lived in both women found something to hold on to, something that still lived and breathed. Echo did not save a life. She saved a story, a memory, a legacy. And in doing so, she gave the world a reason to believe in devotion again. She reminded us that animals do not forget the ones they love. They do not give up when the world turns cold. And Renee, once a woman of quiet halls and long afternoons, now lived among echoes and promises. Her home became a place of refuge, not just for two dogs, but for every heart that had been waiting for someone to see them, to follow them, and to bring them home. Renee began writing letters of her own. Not to anyone in particular, Just short notes she placed inside a small box on her kitchen shelf. She titled it, "The Door She Waited At." In every note, she thanked Echo for not giving up, for waiting, for remembering, for leading her back to life. Each evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Renee would light that same candle on the porch. Echo would lie nearby, Promise curled beside her, and together they watched the sky turn gold, then silver, then soft black. They did not speak. They did not need to. Because some love stories are not told with words. They are told with paw prints and waiting and silent walks through the woods. They are told through the eyes of a dog who never left, who believed someone would follow. And because of that belief, they were never truly alone again. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in the quiet power of love, loyalty, and second chances, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who still believes in hope.